fuck? That's my jacket, bro. Yo, welcome back, guys, to a brand new live stream. I know it's been a little minute. I've just been taking a little break, bro. It's been about, how long has it been? Fucking almost a month since I've been live. I am back now for, I'll be back streaming probably like twice a week. Probably twice a week, yeah. I think Power is speaking right now, so let's just go over this real quick, man. Let me just see if you guys can hear this. I do want to listen to this live. Give me one sec. Share the screen, share the audio. I want to hear what Powell is saying, bro, because it's going to be very important for the markets.
Near-term measures of inflation expectations have moved up on balance over the course of this year on news about tariffs. Beyond the next year or so, however, most measures of longer-term inflation expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. The overall economic effects of the significant changes in trade, immigration, fiscal, and regulatory policy remain to be seen. A reasonable base case is that the tariff-related effects on inflation will be relatively short-lived, a one-time shift in the price level.
Short-lived.
Now, a one-time increase does not mean all at once. Tariff increases will likely take some time to work their way through supply chains. As a result, this one-time increase in the price level will likely be spread over several quarters and show up as somewhat higher inflation during that period. But uncertainty around the path of inflation remains high. We will carefully assess and manage the risk of higher and more persistent inflation. We'll make sure that this one-time increase in prices does not become an ongoing inflation problem. Turning to monetary policy, near-term risks to inflation are tilted to the upside, and risks to employment are tilted to the downside, a challenging situation. Two-sided risks mean that there is no risk-free path. If we ease too aggressively, we could leave the inflation job unfinished and need to reverse course later to fully restore 2% inflation. If we maintain restrictive policy too long, the labor market could soften unnecessarily. When our goals are in tension like this, our framework has long called for us to balance both sides of our dual mandate. The increased downside risks to employment have shifted the balance of risks to achieving our goals. We therefore judged it appropriate at our last meeting to take another step toward a more neutral policy stance, lowering the target range for the federal funds rate by 25 basis points to 4 to 4.25%. This policy stance, which I personally see as still modestly restrictive, leaves us well positioned to respond to potential economic developments. Our policy is not on a preset course. We will continue to determine the appropriate stance based on the incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. We remain committed to supporting maximum employment and bringing inflation sustainably to our 2% goal. Our success in delivering on these goals matters to all Americans, and we understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. So thank you again for having me here, and I very much look forward to our discussion. Thanks.
I'm only going to listen to this for like 5-10 minutes, and then I'll get into the proper live stream. Just want to see what he's saying initially. He's kind of repeating himself all the time. Most of the time, it's just nothing. He just says a whole bunch of nothing.
Thank you very much. Today, and President Collins, we have had the labor markets, and I'm wondering if in your deliberations leading up to the most recent FOMC meeting, whether there was anything particularly distinctive in what you saw coming out of the Boston Beige Book.
So let me say a word about the Beige Book. So there are 12 reserve banks, as you know, around the country, and each of them has deep ties into not just the business community, but medical community, educational community, nonprofits. And each FOMC cycle, which is sort of 8 of those a year, they do a deep dive and they collect lots and lots of information about the economy. And so, and that information gets collated and put into what we call the Beige Book because it's beige. And we're not that original. And so we get that a couple weeks before each FOMC meeting. And I have to say, I don't know of any source of sort of qualitative information about the economy that even approaches this. It's just a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and I personally find it very useful. Sometimes you look at that book and you see significant regional differences, and this is not one of those times. So, for example, the Boston Fed piece in the last Beige book talked about lots of spending on AI. Well, guess what? That was pretty common across 8 or 9 of the districts. So I would say nothing really jumped out from the Boston piece. What you saw was all around the country, you saw pretty modest growth, wage and price inflation at modest to moderate levels, the economy growing but not fast, and uncertainty, significant uncertainty about federal public policy is kind of weighing on investments and the decisions about investment and hiring, except in the area of the AI build-out, which is just going really strong pretty much many parts of the country.
So nothing distinctive from the Boston region that would inform your future decision-making, looking at the setting of monetary policy?
What I saw from Boston was quite similar and overlapping with a number of other districts. Again, sometimes that's the case where things are pretty much of a piece. Sometimes different regions, particularly if there's a commodity price thing, you would see maybe things in the commodity-oriented regions doing differently from other regions of the country. Right now, it's much more the same around the country, I would say.
So let's talk about and build on what you described a few moments ago about the dual mandate of the Fed. And if you could talk about these conditions that wax and wane over time, what signals will you be looking for in the run-up to the next FOMC meeting, which is in roughly 30 days?
We have 2 goals, as you mentioned, maximum employment and price stability, and they're equal goals under the law. So almost all the time, they work together. They complement one another. So, for example, when the economy is weak, the unemployment rate might be high and the inflation rate would be low, and that it calls for stimulus from us. And when the economy is really strong and the labor market is tight, that's when inflation will be moving up, and so policy might be a little bit tighter. That's almost always the case. Right now is the quite unusual case where risks to, as I mentioned in my remarks, risks to employment are to the downside and to inflation to the upside. Now, we only have one tool, which is monetary policy, really interest rates, and really it's calling for different answers. So for a long time, we have a document called the Statement on Longer Run Goals and Monetary Policy Strategy. We call it the consensus statement to save time. That says for a long time, it's said that when the 2 goals are in tension, we'll look at how far each one is from its goal and the time that it's expected to take to get back to that goal. And so we balance the 2 goals. So what we've done all year this year is we've had our policy rate has been tight because inflation has been above our target, but the labor market was very solid. Now, over the last really 4 months, really over the summer, the labor market has softened, payroll jobs have dropped a lot. So we can't really say that anymore. And I think what that told us is that stance of really having a tight focus on inflation really needs to moderate toward a more balanced approach. And so that's why we took the action we took at our last meeting. And as we go to our next meeting, to your question, we'll be asking ourselves, we'll be looking at the data very carefully, labor market data, growth data, inflation data, all of the vast quantities of data that we get, and asking ourselves, is our policy in the right place? And if not, we move it there.
Some may wonder about the frothiness of the markets, the markets reaching record heights and also record valuations. How does the Fed think about that in the equation?
Financial markets. So we monitor financial markets very carefully. Our policy works through financial conditions. So that's credit spreads and interest rate levels and equity prices in the aggregate that can affect spending, for example. We look at all of that, but really our focus is on our 2 goals, and that is maximum employment and price stability. And when we see one of them weakening, we're going to respond appropriately with our tools. And in this case, that meant reducing the federal funds rate by 25 basis points. And, we'll see what the future brings, but that's what we do. We look carefully at financial conditions, more from a perspective, though, of financial stability. So we see that the banks are well capitalized. Actually, in the aggregate, households are in good shape financially. I know people at the bottom end of the income spectrum are under pressure, no question about that. But it's not a time of elevated financial stability risks.
Mm-hmm. So the federal funds rate really governs consumer credit, but not so as it pertains to mortgage rates, correct?
That's right.
And let's talk about how the average consumer is going to see any difference in the intervening months relative to an easing of interest rates and the ability and maybe even more confidence to spend.
So we don't set mortgage rates, but when we change the federal funds rate, it will affect the mortgage rates and also all other consumer borrowing rates. Really, all interest rates that are on a floating basis will move a little bit or even a lot if they're short term, based on our moves. So the people will feel that over time. Also, it's not just these days. The market is pricing in the next 6 months what's going to happen to rates. So this is something that wasn't really the case 50 years ago. Now markets listen to us and follow, and they make an estimation of where they think rates are going, and so they'll price things in. And so longer term rates will move because of what the market expects, market participants expect us to do. So you'll begin to see, and you're already seeing changes in rates long before we make the decision. It can often be already priced in.
Is it fair to say that the Fed and the markets really have a higher tolerance for risk today, more so than perhaps before the pandemic?
I think if you look at some prices, then they're elevated relative to historical levels. There were times before the pandemic when it happens periodically. Equity prices will move up and down, and we do monitor that. But we're not targeting any level of prices for particular financial assets. We don't have a view that we know what the right price of any particular financial asset is. We do look at overall financial conditions, and we ask ourselves whether our policies are affecting financial conditions in a way that is what we're trying to achieve. But you're right. It by many measures, for example, equity prices are fairly highly valued.
Let's segue to the topic of AI and largely AI.
Yeah, allow this one. These guys are gonna start waffling now. Did I just leave the salon? Hair is looking bullish. To be honest, I've not touched my hair since yesterday, I'll be honest. Anyways, guys, let's start with the live stream. Print money, send the crypto market to the trillions. Okay. D-Clown, how you doing, my friend? Southflex, Savage, good to see you. Sammy, good to see you as well, my friend. Haynes, good to see you. Jamie, good to see you as well. Sub, good to see you as well, my friend. Jobin, Eddie, good to see you. Brian, good to see you as well. Andreas, good to see everyone in the chat, guys. Has been a while since I've been live, but I am back now. I will be streaming regularly for you guys. I took a little break. It's always good to take a little break from streaming. I mean, well, streaming doesn't do anything really for my channel, so I try to focus more on videos, but even that was a bit ass. So I just have to get back to streaming again so I can build my community. Let me see, what are some of the questions? So do I think that we'll get another 25 basis cut in November? I think we will definitely get another 25 in November, but the only question is if we're going to get one in December. So at the moment, you guys heard the Fed, right? Powell still expects inflation to go up, but their main focus is the unemployment market, because I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the macro data. Non-farm payrolls have been revised twice now, and both times is been in almost 10 to 15,000 range, which is not a lot. That's like recession numbers. There's massive revisions in the payroll jobs as well. I think it was almost a million, minus 1 million. So there's massive revisions and clear weakness in the labor market, and that's where they're focusing on. But you guys got to keep in mind, when they cut in rates into weakness, which is at the moment there is weakness, even though GDP is high, but that's, GDP is artificial. You create higher GDP by either printing more money or spending more money or by getting foreign investments, which Trump is doing that at the moment, is getting billions from this company, that country, and that kind of contributes towards GDP, but that's not sustainable. He can't continuously get billions of dollars from this country, that company, and if he continues to spend, because that's where a majority of the inflation is coming from. You get a tariff inflation, but that is a one-time hike. It's never going to be continuous or gradual over the months. Tariffs have been live since August, and we're kind of seeing that inflation play out now. But that is a one-time hike. That is not a consistent thing where it's going to go up every single month. But the bullish aspect is that the Fed is continuing to expect inflation to go up. So what that means is if inflation does go up, the market's not going to react in a negative way because the Fed is telling us that they're expecting inflation to go up. So, on the other hand, if inflation comes back down and cools off like PPI did last month, then you're going to get a broader rally in the markets. But unemployment is still historically low. 4.3% historically is very low. It's not high at all. People think, but what people get scared of is the acceleration of inflation. I mean, unemployment, because unemployment can be 4.3, 4.4, 4.5%, but it has a history of just accelerating from 4.5 to like 5.5%. And then that's when you generally get the recessions. And when this much revision happening, you could potentially see that over the next couple of months. But on the bright side, there's so much mixed data because layoffs are still low. If layoffs are low, I think a majority of this non-farm payroll going down is, I think it was almost 300K jobs that the government cut off. So that's going to play a major role as well. So, moving forward, we'll have to see. The Fed did just say that they're in the wait and see mode. That the next decision is going to be based on data. If unemployment just decides to drop again to 4.1%, then realistically we're not going to get as much rate cuts as we kind of expected. So that's pretty much the overall macros. We did have ISM come in yesterday, and it came above IPM, which came above the 50, which means that we are still in expansion, the manufacturing PMI, which is still good. That's good for the economy. People are kind of scared of the stagflation aspect of the market where, I think we're still a long way away from stagflation. For stagflation to happen, you need unemployment in the 8 to 9%. You need inflation above 7%, which is, a long way away. We don't have to worry about that at least till like next year. What's my thoughts on GPU and hash AI? So I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but DePIN coins have been doing fairly well. I don't know why this has not picked up, but a few weeks ago, the DePIN mine share was up 200%. And as soon as that happened, we've seen quite a few different DePIN coins accelerate to the upside. One of them was OORT, AFA, Peak started to rally. I think the current narrative where a lot of KOLs are pushing is the robotics and DePIN narrative. And that's why a few selective, it's not the entire sector at the moment. There's a few selective DePIN coins that's actually rallying. One of them was Solana, and Solana had a massive spike. This is the biggest DePIN coin on Solana. I think it was like a 3x candle. You guys can see that's a pretty big candle. You had AFA having a decent rally. You had Peak having a decent rally. You had a bunch of other robotics coin. The reason robotics did pump was mainly because we had the robotics sector being added as a category on CoinGecko. And every time that happens, it oftentimes leads to a rally in the narrative. Is it sustainable? No one knows. I mean, Aki had a good pump as well. That's robotics and is up 25% today. You had OORT having a fairly good pump off the lows. And, this is something that people do have to consider as well, right? All it takes is the narrative to come back for a lot of these coins to be really bullish. And that's why you have to have patience. You can't just because the coin goes down, it does not mean that it's rogged or it's a scam or whatever. 1 week of price action will take out 5, 6, 7 months of bearish price action. I mean, look at this on the yearly chart, right? In this space of early September to now, the price has returned to the start of the year, 6.4, February 2025. So in that one candle, in that 1 or 2 weeks, it pretty much took out, 8, 9 months of bearish price action. That's how quick the markets will move when the narrative heats up. And I've always told you guys, DePIN at some point will wake up because you cannot have AI without DePIN. So it's a must. And there's a lot of DePIN stuff that's happening in the real world as well. You know, Sec Clarity, for example, they want to clarify DePIN, which kind of caused the rally initially. So, you know, there's a lot of positive stuff happening for Alt as well. And one of the things that I think is going to be massive for the project is this right here. So they are in the deflation aspect now. So they just reached the 100K free DMOS node licenses. And some of these licenses, depending on which one you have, is $60 for the DMOS one, which is a majority of the, what's it called? A majority of the nodes. And then you got the DMOS 2, which is the new node, which is the compute and the data collection node. You know, they're going to have to buy back and burn $120. These guys are 60. And then once we reach the 220K DMOS 2 nodes, every single miner will have to buy back $360. So you guys have to do the maths then and look at if there's 100 grand, 100K node owners, and each one will have to buy back $60, 120, that's millions of dollars that's going to be purchased by the token, and then that will also get burnt. So you're going to see the supply over the next year or two for all drastically come down. You're going to see hundreds of millions being burnt, and that's going to be very, very good for the token price. The more scarce it is, the higher the price can go. And they also I think they're bringing back staking as well, which is good. APY staking just brings a bunch of tokens out of circulation, and then there's less in circulation, the price is more stable, and it can go higher. So that's one bullish aspect for all that's been happening. They've just been added to Coin 898, which is basically a massive wallet. Is a pretty big wallet, 10 million users. So this is the omni-chain aspect they're going for, which means that there's going to be a lot more accessibility for the Alt token. So you can buy it on BigGate wallet now, OKX wallet. There's so many wallets they've integrated with. I think they need to potentially get Tangem for the hardware wallet. But Tangem, I think they asked them to buy, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000 Tangem wallets, for them to actually list them. So there's a lot of headache. Anyways, GPU, let's answer your question. GPU and Hash AI. I think GPU is not too bad. I don't think this is a bad project. It is putting in new lows, so you have to be very careful holding some of this. I mean, the volume to the market cap is very, very bad. But if DePIN does come back as an overall narrative, then you're going to see every single DePIN coin pump. The ones you want to get into are the ones, that's going to give you the most returns. And I don't really think this is one of them. Hash AI, I have not heard about Hash AI for a while. But if they're still developing and they're still working, 250K. So that's like 1% of market cap to, the chart doesn't look that bad though. It looks like it bottomed out in April like most projects, and it looks like it's just revisiting those lows. So Hash AI is not bad, but GPU, I would skip, my friend. Smash the likes, indeed. Smash the likes. First live stream back. It's good to see so many of you still active on the channel, bro. What's my prediction for Sensei? So a lot of people don't know. There's a in 12 days there's going to be one of those. I think they do it every quarter. One of those showcase for the project. So what they're developing, what they've been doing, in terms of the product, the team, etc. So they got one of those coming up, but there's a lot of very, very solid metrics for Sensei. I don't know if you guys are keeping track, but it's only like $7-8 million in market cap. So it's tiny in market cap, but they've got, almost 40K holders. They got 30+K active users on the platform, 200K in the community, 225K chatbot created, which is quite massive because that's what they want to look into, and 500K daily replica. This is some crazy numbers for a project just sitting at $7 million in market cap. They say hundreds of paying clients. It is now almost 2,000 paying clients. That means that these guys are generating very, very good revenue. I don't know if you guys seen it or not, but if you guys are in the Twitter, on the Telegram, there was one day I woke up, there was like hundreds and hundreds of clients paying for the starter pack. And then I think from what I heard, they got 4 enterprise. And I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but we have got OORT and Sensei to partner up, and you know, I had to get that done as well. I've been doing a lot for OORT, and I think one of the main reasons the price did go up massively was due to some of my contributions. I told you guys the last time I was live, I told you guys, do not sell your OORT bags. I am gonna send it flying, and that's exactly what I did. There's gonna be a massive KOL, one of the biggest in the space, that's going to show OORT very soon, probably in the next month or two. So keep an eye out for that. But this is what I'm saying. Look, this is what I mean. This is what a good product does. There's people purchasing the starter pack, hundreds and hundreds of purchases. I think they've run up to almost 2,000 clients now, which is massive. You know, so that's always positive. If you guys are into the high caps, you know, we had Injective. I think it was a fintech platform, whatever, Pineapple Finance. I don't know what the fuck that is, but they're raising 100 million to buy Injective. So we're in the era of the treasury companies. Solana's got one, Chainlink's got one, AVAX has got one now, and now Injective has got one as well. Ethereum's obviously got one. There's a bunch of Bitcoin ones, so that's always. Yeah, I had to get that done, bro. Honestly, bro, you gotta thank some of the pedos that made it happen, bro. They were, you know, when people oftentimes when they take the piss, you know, a lot of people did sell their old bags at the lows. You know, I don't blame them. Even I was getting very, very frustrated at the price action, but you know, I think it was a great buying opportunity. I did buy some at like 2.5, 2.4, 2.5, and I'm glad I did. My average is down significantly because, you know, when you have conviction, as I told people many, many times, it does not matter if the price is like this. This looks exactly like the AGI chart. If you DCA here, 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 when it's up here, you're not going to care. You're in profits now, massive profits. So, you know, if you DCA here, even DCA, when it goes back above 10 cents, you DCA here, 8, 9 cents, you know, when it goes to 20, 30, 40, 50 cents, you're not going to care too much at specific prices you got in, because the more you DCA, the bigger your bags are. You know, one big move is going to be enough for you to be in very good profits. And that's how it always is. You know, a lot of people panic sell the lows, you know, and they think, oh, you know, the project's a scam or whatever. And they don't look at the fundamentals. They don't look at what's causing the price to go down and what's coming up. Anyways, good to see you. Good to see you as well, my friend. I have a new project on my watch list. I would really like. So okay, so Sapien is not a bad project. It's I think it's robotics, isn't it? Sapien is not a bad project. It's data. This is data. It's on base. It is new, so you have to be careful, right? So every new project come out has that initial dump and then pump, and then you kind of have to see where it consolidates. I have not seen the vesting schedule for this, but oftentimes base projects tend to hold up very well. So I was gonna buy some of this for a trade, but my entry did not hit because Mexi has some terrible book orders, so it's very low liquidity on Mexi. But some other chains have a lot more liquidity. So, but this is not a bad project. You know, this is the data aspect, so it's very similar to OORT in that aspect. You know, they have 1.9 million global contributors across 100 country, whatever. But this data issue is going to become a narrative at some point, in my opinion. And if you can front run it and become the main data contributor in the space, I think you can do very well in the long term. Right now, no one really cares about data as much as they should. You know, data nowadays is like the oil that was once oil, right? So data is the new oil, pretty much. Every single company, as AI starts to develop, as AI starts to take over, the data is going to be one of the most important things. It's going to be the oil of the real world, but the online world, pretty much. So, you know, I am very bullish on data. That's why I've always been very bullish on OORT, because that's what they're trying to be. They're trying to be the main, you know, data contributor for AI, decentralized AI in general. So I am bullish on Sapien. I think it'll do very well. The only issue now is fucking Crypto Rank is charging $70 a month for some bullshit to look at the vesting schedule. So I need to find a new platform to look at the vesting for this project. Could not find the vesting. If the vesting is good, you can do well. And Guy, I don't know if you're talking about Guy, Graph AI. I am very bullish on Graph AI as well. I think it's a good project. Oh, this one right here. I thought you were talking about Graph AI. I've not looked into this one, buddy. Let's look at it together. So the living network where knowledge evolves. So AI applications, good partnerships across the board. They've got Tatsu, which is a fairly well-known VC. They've got Amber Group, which is another well-known VC. They got Republic, another big VC. They got Mantor, Bybit. Yes, overall decent backers. LLM, DeepSeek, Instant Connect to specific network of. This is more DePIN, I think. It doesn't look bad though. The team docs. I'm assuming if the website's clean like this and they got big backers, I'm assuming the team should be doxed, in my opinion. Let's have a look. If the team is doxed and the vesting is okay, a lot of these new projects come out, so this is clearly new. Has come out, they have that initial dump, they kind of rally back up, and this is on Ethereum. Let's have a look at the markets. It doesn't look bad though. Kraken, which is pretty good. Yeah, this overall looks pretty decent, my friend. Both of them look pretty good. Just look at the vesting schedule and see how it is. That's going to be the. Can I have a look at KTA? I don't think KTA is a bad project. It does have its bullish aspects. However, if I'm looking for an investment to make me money, I don't really see how KTA is going to make you much money, my friend. It's done the bulk of the move. I look at this as like the Casper, because it came out pretty much fair launched and just been pumping nonstop. Can this continue to pump? I don't really think so. I think it's a good trade. If it comes down, like for example, if you got in here, it's like a 30-40% move, comes back down again, buy it, keep trading it. That's how I treat KTA. AVNT, this has been doing crazy numbers recently, bro. Would I buy into it now? Of course not. This is supposed to be it's supposed to be the liquidity market for Beige. Any liquidity markets for Beige is always good. One that I've been looking to keep an eye out for is this one right here. I was up today as well. This is like the alternative version of what's it called? Oh shit, this has pumped loads. It's coming back down though. Wait, hold on. This was at 15 cents a few days ago. The fuck? But this is another one of those where it aims to be, so the liquidity hub for Base. So because of Aventus, whatever the fuck it's called, is doing well, it's like a low cap version of that. It's very hard to buy though. That's the only issue. You have to either buy it on Uniswap or the actual chain. Most of the liquidity seems to be on the actual platform. So this is like an alternative version of that. I mean, if it comes down, I was gonna, bro, what the fuck? I need to keep paying attention to some of these, bro. This was like a 15 cents when I was looking at it. It's up 21, so it's up a decent amount, bro. Damn. Yo, you pump loads. Yeah, this is not a bad alternative. Wait for the market, because the market right now is gonna correct. I do think so. When you get the biggest capitulation events, you get the initial bounce, which is kind of what we see now, and then you get you get one more drawdown into the weekly low. So ideally, for us to be bullish, we need to hold this region 113k. If we can't, then we will most likely come a little bit lower. It's not a problem. Like I always say, keep cash on the side for unexpected liquidity manipulation. This is all it was just pure manipulation. People got too excited, opened up high leverage longs. I think we just had the biggest liquidation of the year. Bigger than the tariffs, bigger than the December drop. Pretty much, I think it was a massive liquidation event. People got a little bit too excited. It always happens. People get excited for rate cuts. Oh, rate cuts are bullish. When you're cutting rates into a slowdown, oftentimes you get a drawdown first before the final move up. So, I don't see why we can't come down to somewhere around this region, 105, 106, 109, and then head higher. That's what I think will happen. I do think we'll have a little bit lower to go, but just look at how bullish it is right now. Dominance, despite we just had the biggest liquidation event, people are somewhat scared. Dominance cannot break above 60. is getting rejected off the 50-day moving average, which is massive. This just shows where investors' heads are now. People are looking for an Altseason. It's very clear. Otherwise, dominance in this massive crash that we had should have shot up massively. Instead, it's holding below 59%. So we will get our Altseason this year. It's just how many people are going to survive till to the point we get it. We will definitely get a blow off top. Let me just have a look at what Power is saying, because these guys are reporting what Power is saying. Says uncertainty of inflation path remains high. Okay, that makes sense. Dai Singh, good to see you, buddy. But yeah, I personally would not buy anything at the moment. Wait for Bitcoin to come a little bit lower. Let this come down. This is the good alternative to the one thing I don't like is this shit here. When it's infinite supply, it's always a red flag. But it's a liquidity layer, so it makes sense for it to have a little bit more supply. But wait for this to come down. Maybe there's a double bottom, but this is not a bad alternative for Aventus, which is pretty much doing the exact same thing as this, but obviously on a much larger scale. Yeah, this is basically what it wants to do. Same shit, but global markets limit. Okay, so this is the DEX for. Okay, that's basically the perp DEX for the base network. Jav, good to see you, broski. Tony, good to see you as well. Did good to see you, my friend. Binance CZ market manipulations. Yeah, I mean, like I said, when you had record level of what's it called? Record level of longs, market makers would have always manipulated the shit out of it. I think the parabolic move will come sometime mid-October. I still think over the next couple of weeks, because we had the triple witching shit, we could see a little bit more drawdown. I would personally not be buying any of this shit, especially when it's pumped so much. 800% the last, or 400% the last 3 months is not something that you should be accumulating right now, bro. The chart does not look good either. So Asta's another one that's been doing crazy amounts recently. I did trade it a few times in and out, but would I be buying into this? Definitely not. Just goes to show how much fucking buy power CZ has, bro. How much you can really manipulate. Yeah, hit the likes, guys. Let's get to at least 70, 80 likes. Remember G telling everyone to hold on to alt when it was at the lows. This is why this man knows this stuff. I mean, bro, listen, it's all about timing. It was not easy to hold at the lows, I'll be honest. But I already knew what was coming. The 100K nodes, massive buybacks, and then I also was working on getting some of the KOLs involved. So, for that reason, there was no reason to sell at the lows. What price should I accumulate more alt? So if you look at the alt chart, it came back and tested support. Where is it? Where is the alt chart? TRWA came down loads, but fucking hell, it came out of my range. So let's add alt here. I don't know why the fuck alt isn't on here. Let's do the Mexi chart. Yeah, so you look at alt, it came back and tested the support. So there was a massive resistance around 6 cents. So what happened was we had this massive breakout, back tested the support twice, came back up again, hit the support again, and now we're heading higher. So it's not a bad time to DCA into it even now. But as the market goes lower, you have to keep in mind, alt can come down. I think between 6 cents, 6 to 7 cents is a good time to accumulate it for now. But I would also be careful but the thing is, alt behaves on its own accords. I mean, there's been so many times where the market dumps and then alt pumps. So it does kind of his own thing. And that is because there's not really much manipulation. I mean, the reason it was selling off so hard was because of the miners, but that's stopped now. All the early investors have completely been vested. So there's no random unlock that's going to happen next month and the 1 month after that. There's no more unlocks for alt. That's why I said after the unlock stopped, it's pretty much up only from there. So bullish haircut. Yeah, so another thing actually, Tim, good to see you as well, buddy. How you been? I hope you're well as well. So another thing that that's very, very bullish. So I I am a private investor in ESX, it's not good for me because obviously my tokens are going to be delayed. But you as an investor, like that's why I said I want to get 50% in private sale and then 50% on public, because over the years I've taken part in quite a few private sales, and 9 times out of 10, if there's something's happened in the project, the price is not doing as well as the team expects, they can always delay your tokens, and that's pretty much what happened for ESX. So the vesting schedule, it was meant to be, there was supposed to be unlocks on the 17th of this month, but what they've done now is they've delayed it and done performance-based unlocks. So it's very, very bullish. So now early investors will only get 2% a month, 2%, 2%, and then 4%, and then 6% in next year, early next year. I think that's good. There's not really unlocks, not much at all. If they do a little bit of marketing, which they are, because they're currently in. So from what I heard, Bot is going to be speaking in front of Upbit and the other big South Korean exchanges. So the two biggest exchanges. So he is going to pitch ESX to them. If they like it, they could potentially list it. Who knows? But they do have a big listing coming up very soon. I think they're going to do in October. But leading up to that listing, they're going to do smaller exchange listings and leading up to the big one. So you are going to hear some exchange listings coming up, and then there's going to be a big one dropping in October. Mugen, good to see you as well, my friend. Southflex, good to see you, my buddy. How you doing, bro? So nice to see you again. Could you analyze? I already just done that for you, bro. Update on props. I'm still bullish on props, bro. So what happened with props is very, very simple, right? They done their marketing in August. So while the rest of the market weren't really doing shit in August, look at this. So it came down in July, and then in August, they had this decent pump from the lows to the highs. It pretty much doubled. It got close to almost 4 cents. 6 cents, 4 cents, sorry. And then what happened was we just had the usual sell-off as the market sold off as well. This is pretty normal, right? So you get the initial pump, and then the market sells off, and then this sells off as aggressively because the people that bought here, and all the way up, they started to sell on the way down. It's going to bottom out again and most likely go higher, in my opinion. This is the unlocks are not harsh because it's performing best unlocks. The volume is very, very high, 3 million. Look at the volume to market cap ratio, almost 30%. It's quite massive. So I still think props will do well. Like I said, it had this pump in August because they done all their marketing in August, and then it just slumped over. Everyone took profits and kind of sold it off. But I'm still very bullish on this project. I still think when RWA wakes up, like I said, you have to realize if the narrative is hot, it will do well because it has one of the biggest communities. That's all it is. It comes down to narratives. All was dead till DePIN, mindshare went up 200%, and then the DePIN coin started pumping, and then you pump like 4x off the lows. That's what it is. When RWA narrative wakes up, all these RWA coins are going to pump, all of them. ATR, Bricken, Props, Relio, ESX, all of them will pump. You have to keep that in mind. It's all about the narrative. Just look at the mindshare. This is a very important one. Real world assets, mindshare is not up crazy amounts. It's up about 2%, the last 7 days. It's not a crazy amount, right? Memes, DeFi is hot. Layer ones are hot. And then gaming's kind of dead. Memes are a little bit, real world assets are still only 2%. So, but the narrative will wake up, in my opinion. It's the one that's getting the most adoption. I mean, look at the metrics for Ondo. They just released their, they released their on-chain stock trading, and it's already got 250 million TVL within like a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of interest in that sector, and it will come back again, don't worry. By the end of the year, I think RWA will pump. Do you recommend as from now to DCA heavily into Sensei rather than OORT? Yeah, look, that's what I would do. OORT has pumped now. You had the opportunity to DCA into OORT. Focus on other coins now, like Sensei is it's pretty much at the lows now. If BTC comes down a bit more, you can come back down with BTC. It tends to follow BTC. Comes down a bit more. Accumulate some NAI as well. Nai is not bad either. Nai is, I think, a very good buying opportunity for Nai. $4 million in market cap. So, everyone knows the token performance for this has been ass the last 3 months, down 40%, right? But what the team has done now is instead of actually, there was supposed to be unlocks in November. So they're going to push that back now into next year, because they cannot unlock the tokens when the chart is so ass. So over the next month, they're going to do a bunch of marketing. They're going to pause the unlocks. So there's going to be no unlocks this year, which is good, right? So there's going to be less selling pressure coming in. They're going to improve the chart. They've just landed their first enterprise client, and they are going deflationary now. So 25% of all the revenue they earn will be, burning the token, buying back and burning the token, which is always good. I think the first buyback was fuck all, like $7,000 or some shit. Because this is low liquidity. Even if they do a 36% buyback or 36K buyback, a 20K, 30K buyback, you're going to see the shit pump 30-40% very, very fast, because it does not need a lot of money to move it. This is why this is my high risk, high reward AI play. It's a small percentage of my portfolio. However, I still think this can do very well. They're still developing. The product is live now. Nexus, when Helix goes live, that's their mainnet fully live. And they got companies like Toyota actually trying out the product. It doesn't mean they're going to fucking use it, but it's still impressive in itself that you got a company like Toyota trying out your product. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make data more cost effective for enterprises, and they've just landed their first client. They're in talks with one of the big 4 Web2 companies in data. If that comes through, and the marketing they can do around the KOL, so the team said, the CEO said they're going to get in touch with some of the old KOLs that used to be talking about them, maybe Alex Becker, maybe some of the other ones. There's a bunch of ones that used to shill it. They're going to get back in contact with them and then pump it again. So, it's a good buying opportunity. I don't know why people always sell the lows. I don't know why. They panic sell the lows thinking it's going to go lower, and you get the God candle coming in randomly, like OORT did. And then they ask, oh, is it too late to buy? And you've missed the boat. You've missed the boat now. And not, if the people that got the lows for OORT, if it does another 10x, you get like 40, 50x on your money, or 30x on your money. Just another 10x from here, from that low that you bought into. It's the same thing with this. $4 million in market cap, no unlocks the next year. I think, I'm still accumulating this. It's not, like I said, I hold around 6 million tokens. I probably will get it around 7-8 million. So I'll probably get another 1 or 2 million, and then I'll call that quits. My averages are fairly decent on this because I've been DCAing it. What catalyst could start Altseason? So there's no catalyst. One of the things that we have to look out for is, there's certain things that will cause an Altseason. One of them is QT ending. And, when the repo is damn near zero, it's at 14 billion, 14.1 billion. What this shows is this shows 2 different stories. One of them is big banks and, big companies, Wall Street, are not parking the money with the Fed. They're risk on, or they're putting it elsewhere. They're putting the money elsewhere. So what this does is, if this goes to zero now, it could incentivize the Fed, because, the Fed wants liquidity out, which is why they're doing QT. Once this goes to zero, what could happen is they could pause QT for a while, maybe a couple of months, maybe 6 months, 4 months, whatever it is, right? Because they've achieved their goal now. Repo's drying up. It puts a little bit more pressure on banks, on the Fed as well. If something goes wrong, they don't have the money to actually save a bank like they did in, I think it was 2023, where one of the banks went insolvent and the Fed stepped in and, injected like 450 billion to save that bank. They don't have the money to do that anymore. So if anything does go wrong, the Fed will have to just step in and print more money. So that's one aspect that's good. But at some point, I do think if the repo continues to go down to zero, it's going to put a little bit more pressure on the Fed, on the banks, and I think QT will come to an end. Community hit all time under the condition. We have massive Altseason. Yeah, it's DJ, my friend, but immunity was one of those that I said high risk, high reward. Put in whatever you can afford to lose. I still hold my bag. I think I had 1.3 grand in it. it's probably worth around $40-$30 now. But 1K, me losing 1K is not going to kill me, bro. You get me? So for you, could have been $200, for $50, whatever it was. I've always said put in whatever you can afford to lose. If we get a gaming run, if gaming narrative wakes up, then of course it will do very well. The team is still actively developing. They are going to be releasing the game this year. I think once the game is out, they're going to pump it artificially. I mean, getting into it now, like chucking in $50 or $100, and if it does like a couple X's, you pump 4X a few weeks ago, come back down. It's like 40, 30, 40K market cap. If it goes to 4 million, that's 100X for you. You don't need to put a large amount of money into it. I chucked in 500 in the lows, and after the 4X, I already made my losses back. Of course, I didn't sell because it's only $1,000, right? A few grand doesn't matter for me. But if he does 100X from this point on, $200 will turn into 200K. I mean 20K. $100 would turn into 10K. For it to reach 100X would be like $3-4 million. If you're telling me in Altseason, a gaming coin that has 2 games, active team, can't reach 3-4 million, then there's something wrong with the markets, in my opinion. So appreciate you, my friend. Walaikum salam, bro. How you doing? Am I still bullish on Hint? Yes, I'm still bullish on Hint. Hint's still developing, still integrating a bunch of new companies and projects. So the way that this works is, because Binance took over the bulk of the liquidity right now, so the degens, what they tend to do is, the chart tells itself, right? Down here, April, it was at the lows. It had this pretty decent pump from 2.2. It did around almost a 5X, right? Almost a 5X. And then liquidity moved out of Base, went into Binance chain, because Binance is the biggest chain right now. Most of the liquidity is in there. Eventually, money will flow back into Base, and you're going to get Hint pumping again. That's how it works. It's chain on chain trading. And, Base is going to be one of those that will always have its pump. So Base pumped, throughout April all the way to maybe August, and then cooled off. If you look at a lot of the Base coins, you guys can see, I'll tell you another Base coin that did the exact same thing as, what Hive is doing now. Look at Graph AI, right? Look at Graph AI. Had a decent sized pump because Alex Becken then pumped it. The liquidity was in Base, and then boom, it just had a massive correction. It's up a little bit today, but this is how a majority of the Base chain coins are working right now. ATR, I'm still very bullish. I've been bidding ATR. I think I bought around 500,000 tokens. At these prices, they've just posted something new. So one of our key missions at ATR is to reduce selling pressure for the ATR token. So they've obviously realized selling pressure is a problem for the ATR token. So important updates are coming for the ecosystem. New raffle distribution, 50% Artrade, 40% rewards, and 10% burn. So to keep it deflationary, creation of a Sol strategic reserve, which is always good. Sol continues to do well. They have more money. Instead of selling the token, they can obviously use the reserve. Both designed to make ATR scarce, stronger, and more sustainable. This is always very, very bullish. So we're preparing for the new raffle distribution to reduce selling pressure. So instead of giving out tokens or whatever for the reward pools, they're going to be giving out raffles. So there's going to be less selling pressure coming in from this. So each burn will make ATR scarce over time. They've already burned a decent chunk of the supply. So, the total supply was 1.8 billion. It's now come down to 1.2. So there's over time is going to get more and more scarce. So I'm very bullish on both. Hint has always been like, don't over invest into Hint. Is a degen play. Degen means you put in whatever you can afford to do. This is a project that has almost 100 chains integrated using the Oracle. At some point, when money flows back into Base, it will have its time. Keep that in mind. It's very close to Sharp AI as well, so they're going to pump together. Do you think gaming narrative or combat? I think the gaming narrative is 50-50. I personally would not bid anything crazy into gaming. I hold my gaming coins because if gaming comes back, they will do very well. Am I actively buying gaming? Nope, I'm not actively buying gaming. I don't think anyone should be actively DCAing gaming. Just hold whatever you have. All you need is one of your tokens to do really well. That's why I like to keep my portfolio concise into good projects. All I need is one of them to do really well because my bags are large for me to make good money this cycle. That's how everyone's portfolio should be. Shouldn't spread thin across 50 projects. Just spread it across 10, 15 projects if that, and have more allocation, because if one of them blows up, that's how you're going to make good money going into the bear market. What's my thoughts on block? I'm not a fan of block. 3000x. Yo, that's crazy, bro. It's off all exchanges now. So because you gotta keep in mind, guys, if you're a gaming coin right now, right? The reality is you're broke. You've not been making money off your token, because that's what a majority of projects do. They make money off their token, and because a lot of these exchanges have high requirements. You have to update every year. You have to pay them money every single year. What Mexi was doing was just, it kept selling. It sold all the tokens and delisted them. The exact same thing happened with Gate. It just sold all the tokens. That's why the price went crashing down. Isn't it a coincidence that Mexi delist them and the price tanks a couple of weeks in advance? That's what they do. You give them tokens. When they want to get rid of you, they'll just spam sell all your tokens, and then they'll get rid of you. It doesn't matter. A 40K token does not need a SEX to reach 3-4 million. It doesn't. As long as there's enough liquidity on the DEX, you can pump the DEX. $3-4 million is $10 million. All these fucking Solana coins come out to reach 50, 60, 70 million just on the DEX. You don't need DEX. DEX is becoming bigger than centralized exchanges. Why do you think Hyperliquid is one of the top amongst the top? Why do you think Asta has blew up? People are starting to move away from centralized exchanges because of all the problems they bring and going into DEXs. I think DEXs are going to be massive over the next. The more adoption we get, DEXs are going to be more important, and the more regulation that comes into crypto, DEXs are going to be more important as well. So I'm not too concerned about having a centralized exchange, but like having all these exchanges does not mean shit. When if you cannot meet the requirements, they'll just rug your token. Do I think this cycle will take itself into? I don't really think so. Not mid 2026. Hell no. I think maybe if we get lucky, we might have early 2026. I don't think we're going past that, bro. Honestly, I have 200. Can suggest me. I have $200. Suggest me 2 free altcoins for 10 to 100x. Yeah, $200, bro. Just fucking chuck it into NAI, bro. The best risk reward is probably NAI from this point on. That's what I would do. Best risk reward is probably this token. Would not be buying, well, it's $200, bro. You make that back in a few days of working. Chuck into this token for good risk to reward for a few $100. Bullshit, don't shout. Bullish on Munity Q4. Hopefully, if gaming returns, it will do well. BB King, how you doing, brother? Yeah, it's coming to an end now. I gotta go. I'll probably be live for like another 15 minutes, and then I'll get off. Andy, good to see you, bro. Yeah, nuclei volume is low. That's I 100% agree with you. But that's one of the main reasons I've never ever been heavy on this. I've only just chucked in a few grand into it, and the reason is because mainly because of the liquidity. You have to, before you buy something, and you want to do your portfolio size according to that token, look at the liquidity. NAI has always had very low volume and liquidity, so therefore I will not be chucking in anything more than 2, 3, 4 grand. That's it. Maybe 5 grand max. That's how you should treat it. But liquidity and volume comes with a narrative. I think December times, when this pumped like 6-7x, it had close to 1 million daily volume. So the volume comes when the narrative picks up. It's not going to come now when the the narrative is dead. People are not interested in the token. So that's volume comes over time, my friend. Nothing just has high volume all the time unless they're running bots. These guys don't run bots. So this 37K volume is real volume. There's actual 37K transactions daily. It's not fake. A lot of projects have run bots where they have 400 or 500K volume, but that's not real volume. That's fake volume. That's just botted volume. They buy, sell, and the volume goes up. That's all it is. This is real 37K real volume. If they run bots, this could easily get to 200-300K daily volume. It doesn't matter. That's botted volume. But you need money. Like over time, when they get a bit more money, maybe they can run it. Listen for Sensei. Another Sexy, the CEO said, I think 6 months ago, Sensei will be listed on the next two. Well, getting exchange listing is pointless, but I don't know why everyone's so like. How many times, how many fucking times have projects got listed on some fucking exchange and it's done nothing, bro? I think people overhype exchange listings is pointless. It pumps 20, 10, 15%. Like, bro, projects are getting listed on Coinbase, pumping 20, 30%, and then just rugging back down. And that's one of the biggest exchanges in the world. So getting a fucking kucoin or something, it's not going to do shit for the price, but honestly. You'll get that initial 20, 30% pump, and then it will just get sold off because people just trade it. So I think exchange listings are just overhyped, bro. Like, Sensei has over 1.2 million liquidity on the DEX. They don't really need an exchange listing. You can always just go sell it on the DEX. There's plenty of volume there. But I'm going to be streaming regularly now anyways. I do like QE swap only if they do what they say they can do. You have to keep in mind, some projects can say or have a bullish concept, but if they can never actually go through with it, then it's fucking pointless. It's pointless. And this is one of those projects that has a very bullish aspect, a concept, but there's actually no product at the moment. That's the issue. But this is very, very bullish concept, but if they can actually make this, it will do very well, but only time will tell. Right now, the chart looks like a fallen knife. So look at this. Changing from ETH on Tron to USDC on Polygon. We've never seen that before in crypto. No other platform is doing that. And the reason they're not doing that is because obviously it's not easy to do. And if they can build it, it can do very, very well. But it's like a bunch of if, buts, and maybes. And look at the chart, says a lot about it, bro. It's like people would either lose hope or they'll just move on if the product cannot be live. I will speak about autos. I think autos is pretty good, just because they got a big KOLs behind it. I'd trade the shit out of this, to be honest with you, but just look at that 3-month chart. Buy down here. I literally bought autos a few weeks ago, and then Alex Becker pumped it, and I got rid of it. And I'll probably buy again. And when it pumps, 50, 60%. The one thing I don't like about autos, bro, look at that fucking chart, bro. It's a good chart, but you just can't break past this region, bro. It's like some big ass resistance, bro. They just can't break it. It's so difficult for this to break the 1.6 region. It's been struggling all fucking year, bro. Yeah, since April, it can't break past this resistance. I don't know if there's like a massive clog or something that's at 1.6 or 1.7, but it can't seem to break this region. So for that reason, I've never really got into it consistently. I've just been trading it recently. It's a good coin to trade, though. It's a very good coin to trade. Just fucking buy it, get rid of it 60%. It will come back down. Buy it, make good money trading the shit out of it. You don't need to hold it, bro. Like, what's the point of you holding this just for it to come down to your buy range, go back up, come back to your buy range? Yes, eventually it will break out. You just have to wait for what's it called, for the narrative to take off. That's all it is. Just wait for the RWA narrative to take off, and it'll pump. It'll do well. Yeah, I take all OTK, Natix, autos. Yeah, Natix is good as well. I like Natix. I think Natix will do well with the robotics narrative. is down a bit. I think one thing that these guys lack is KOLs. They don't have any big KOLs pushing it, and that's one thing. When the narrative is hot, Peak is doing very well because everyone's talking about Peak now. Peak has always been a phenomenal project. The one thing he always lacked, and the only big issue he always had was vesting, and it has not changed. So the vesting is still going to be harsh. I mean, if the vesting was not harsh, this shit probably would have pumped to like 15, 20 cents already. But there's a lot of selling pressure coming in every month. On the next unlock, there's going to be more selling pressure. And the next unlock, it's going to be more selling pressure. And that's the only problem with Peak. But Natix is good. The chart is fairly good, in my opinion. Chart looks fairly good. Can't really, this yearly chart looks pretty decent, in my opinion. Yo. Bench 100 kg. Get that done, bro. Man said I love. Oh, that's crazy, guys. So you don't think Blockstreet can? Nah, fuck no, bruv. Block is ass. Block was always. I traded this shit, but you gotta keep in mind, bro. Block is one of those that's only gonna ride on the back of the Wolfi narrative. Wolfi came out. This is what happened to this shit, right? It came out. So Wolfi came out in August times. It had that decent pump. Almost 2x pretty much from here. And then everyone got bored of the Wolfi narrative and people thought it was going to be fucking massive. And then all the early investors dumped. They done some stupid unlocks where they unlocked more tokens than they were supposed to. And then everyone just kind of moved on from that shit. It was like, oh, it's another fucking Trump. It's another Trump, another Trump rug. It's just another money grab from Trump. That's all it was. And Block was riding on the back of that because the entire thing was that one of the advisors or one of the CEO for this project was the advisor in the Wolfi coin. And he kind of rode on the back of the narrative. So when Wolfi pumps, this will pump as well. So if the only reason this will go back to his all-time high is if Wolfi pumps. That's it. World Liberty Finance. If that pumps, this will pump along with it. It's very correlated, this shit. 3 months up starts pretty much now. Would you agree? I don't think now, but I think it will start very soon. I think, like I said, BTC will come down somewhere in this range. This will be the best buying opportunity of your lives. Go long here on the high caps. I will personally be going long on Injective and Ondo and some of these other high caps. Sui maybe. And you're going to get the best buying opportunity down here, in my opinion. But like I said, every single time you get the big capitulation event, what tends to happen is, and this happens every single time, is you get the big capitulation event, and then you get the small bounce. Everyone gets excited and says the bottom is in, and then you get one more drop, and that's where it will really bottom. Every single time. I mean, but when we had the big capitulation event earlier this year, everyone thought this is it. I think we went down to like 80k and then had a bounce, and then we came back down to 74k, and that was the bottom. So, but 109k is the level we need to hold. You can always wick down here and then recover, and that would be good enough, and that would be the lows, in my opinion. So, but the cycles, nothing's going to change the cycles. I still think Alt's still holding way stronger than most people thought, which is always a good sign. Look at dominance, bro. Bitcoin's going down, but dominance is chilling. It's not going up like it used to. If this was 2-3 months ago, 4 months ago, Bitcoin going down this much, everyone would have just fucking pushed it out into BTC. Looks like everyone's going into finger now. Everyone's going into USDT now and stable coins. But I still think stable coins will potentially top out very soon. And then we'll get our end of the year pump. I still think we'll get the end of the year pump. There's no doubt about that. But I think it will start early October. It's going to play out very similar to 2025, in my opinion. 2025, and if we get lucky this time, as long as the data aligns, we could push into 2026, because 2025 got cut off mainly because of the Fed. So this time, do not get caught out. If you see inflation creeping up too much, or you see unemployment creeping up too much, then you take profits. Simple as that. Take profits, because as soon as something cracks, you're going to see shit come down very, very fast. Anyways, guys, I think we can end it on here. My thoughts on XVM. Let's have a look at this last coin. XVM. I ain't gonna lie. Chart doesn't look that bad. It looks like it's just consolidating. It's an RWA coin, this is. I think I might have looked into this before. It looks familiar. Are we at that time where my internet starts bugging out? Oh, okay, I remember this. Supercharge the next generation of RWA. Yeah, this could do. I mean, this is a gamble play. There's no docs team. There's no, there's not really anything behind it. Seems to be an app. Is it coming soon or is it actually live? Yeah, so it's not really live at the moment. It's a gamble play, my friend. Yeah, a gamble play. It could do well, maybe chuck a few hundred. It might pump again if the app goes live. But I remember this pumping a lot, just randomly. But it's a risky play, Andreas. Risky play. What about privacy tokens? Can they survive the cycle like ZK Sync, LF0? LF0 is ass. That's fucking dead. ZK Sync, I think privacy will always be in crypto. But can projects like ZK Sync do well? I don't really think so, bro. I don't really think people are going to go to all the layer 2s. I think they'll go to a few. I mean, look at the volume, but the volume says a lot about this. It will survive. It will still be around. It all depends if people are going to be interested in it or not. Because you want to invest in the token and for the token to do well. In this case, I don't think this will do well. How high can Cubic run? I wouldn't even buy in Cubic, bro. Someone tweet AGI will be deployed on Cubic. That's so random. I don't even think that's true, but let's see. Cubic's coming down now, like the rest of the market. But Cubic's like a good, quick 2 to 3x play, and then just get rid of it. It's already had its pump, bro. Shit had its pump. Yeah, this already had its pump, man. This came out fair launch and went to the hundreds of millions. It's just too late to do this type of things. Like, one thing no one should ever do is try to jump on late bandwagons, bro. Like, this literally went from 0 to 100 million. Is 100K AI tech a lot? Nah, not really. I think AI tech will do well still. Like, sell your AI tech after it gets the Binance listing. Don't keep it afterwards because it will get it. I mean, look at the volume. That's very impressive volume. 20 mil to 50 mil. That's very good volume, right? Vesting is slowed down now. It's barely any unlocks. But after it gets the Binance listing, which it will, I think it will this year, I would not be holding on to it, bro. Like, after every single time you get one of these big exchange listings is the top. That's it. Unless AI Tech pays them in cash, which I don't think they will, bro. Like, who the fuck's paying 4-5 million in cash? They're gonna give them a bunch of tokens and then some cash as well. And once they, but I do think DePIN will pump this year, and I think AI Tech will do very well. It will at least reach a 10x from here, which put it at 500 million. I think a 10x for this shouldn't be that hard, considering, if they continue to burn and buy back the token, which, to be fair, they haven't burned a lot. I don't know, like 20 million tokens, which is fuck all, bro. But they need to start burning. They need to increase the burn now. Maybe do some buybacks along the way. It'll do very well. This, look at this pump from here to here. That was caused mostly by the buybacks. But 100K AI tech is not a lot, bro. That's like, how much is 100K AI tech now? Is there a way to check down here? Free bags? No, that's nothing, bro. That's good. That's not a lot. That's a good amount. 100K is easy. It's going to be really easy to sell as well. 10x for AI tech realistic. I think it's realistic, yeah. It's on the cards. If DePIN runs, it's definitely on the cards. It's all about narratives, boy. People got to realize everything is about narratives, nothing else. You could have the shittest token in narrative, and when the narrative hits, it will still pump. So you should only invest into narratives you think will pump. I think RWA will pump. So I have a lot of RWA. I think AI and DePIN will pump, and I have a lot of AI and DePIN because AI is not going to stop. But everyone keeps calling AI a bubble. It's not. It's not a bubble. It's the future. Like eventually, everything will be AI at some point, bro. Yo, swear you gotta chill, broski. Check SoulForge Fusion Survivor, the gaming token volume, not bad either. There's not a lot of survivors in the gaming token gaming world, bro. $5 million. This shit just launched, bro. No. What do you mean survivor, bro? This shit just launched early in last year or this year, start of this year. This ain't no survivor, bro. This is a brand new token, pretty much. But it's holding a while, though. I'll be honest. Let's have a look at this shit. It's on Solana as well, which is quite random. SoulForge hybrid deck game. Yeah, fuck this, bro. It's a fucking card game, bro. I would never buy this shit. I'm against card games, bro. Like, who the fuck sits there and plays card games? Yeah, skip this shit, bro. This ass. It's $5-10 for Aero, Su, Ondo. What about Lux token? Talking about this Lux token. But I'm not buying no Lux token, but this shit is ass. I'm not buying this, bro. This is another gaming token. Therefore, I've never bought this shit. I don't even know what it does. $5 to $10 targets for Aero, Sui, Ondo, Virtuals. That is 5x is realistic. $5. The fuck? Hold on. What's Aero's price now? Yeah, for Aero is possible. Yeah, for definitely possible for Aero. There's no doubt about that shit. Bro said, well, God, my use. For Aero is possible. Sui, $5, 100% on the cards. Ondo, $5, 100% on the cards as well. Virtuals, $5. I don't think so, no. I think it's possible, but let me see, what's Virtual's price now? $5. Oh yeah, I think this is possible as well. Can it reach its all-time high again? I don't know, actually. It's been diluted a decent amount. Yeah, I mean, just look at the price and finger dilution. So price reached, halfway through, but the market cap did not reach halfway through. So there's been quite a decent amount of dilution. I don't know about Virtuals, but I think the other three can. Sui, Ondo can reach $5. And $10 is still on the cards for Sui and Aero, I think. Can Natix do a 20x? Let me see the market cap of Natix. All depends on market cap. No, I don't think so. I think a 10x is possible for Natix. I don't think it'll do a 20x. It just doesn't have enough volume. 30 million with 300k, that's like 1%, but it's not enough. Is my math right? Yeah, that's 1% volume. It's not enough. It's not a lot of interest. I am bullish on Natix though. But you gotta keep in mind, but the longer this shit drags, the more diluted it will become. And the gains get less and less. That's what you have to realize. Look, let me show you something, right? Back in February, it was 11 million in market cap, right? And the price was what? Let's look at the price in Feb. In Feb, the price was 0.06, right? And it was only $10 million in market cap. You look at this now, it's currently $30 million in market cap. But then look at the price, it's almost at the same region it was in February. So you realize now the market cap has gone 3x over this year, but the price has come down to the same range. So what that means is there's been 3x dilution, and that was always my concern with Natix. As a project, it's always been fundamentally strong, but the harsh unlocks is what's been killing it. Because something like OORT, the unlock doesn't matter as much because they do a bunch of buybacks and burns, and they've already burnt 50% of the supply. close damn near 50% of the supply. Whereas Natix is not doing that. They're not burning the token. So it's not going to get scarce. It's only going to get diluted. That's that's why, that's one of the main reasons I've never really got into this, even though I've always thought it was a good project. I didn't see the point because of the unlocks. Like, look at this. When it reached all-time high, just a few months ago in May, the market cap was 40 million. Bro, it's at the fucking near all-time high, all-time lows now, and the market cap is 30 million. So there's a lot of dilution happening for some of these projects. The longer this shit drags, the lower your gains are going to become because of dilution. Why do I like Sensei, and why I've always picked, Sensei over Natix, is because there's barely any dilution. They done most of the dilution initially. Look at the market cap. It looks exactly like the price because they're not diluting fuck all tokens. It's literally like, I don't know, like maybe 10 grand a month or some shit, 15 grand a month at most. That's not going to really make the price go up. The price, look at the price and market cap, looks exactly the same. You look at Natix, is a massive difference. Look at that price down here, market cap is up here. So there's clearly a massive dilution happening, and this is going to be something across the board. Look at Peak. Let me show you Peak, bro. Peak is another one that's been heavily diluted. Look at that. When it came out, the price was 20 cents, right? At the peak, the market cap, let's look at the peak market cap. At the peak, the price was 70 fucking cents, right? 70 cents in price. That's 7x away, keep in mind. And 400 million market cap is only a 3x away back to his all-time high in market cap. So 400 million was the price, the market cap at the peak, right? Now it's 150 million. So you do the math. It's 3x away, but 7x away in price. 3x, 450, let's say 450, right? 150 now, you do the math. That's 3x away. Whereas if you compare it to price, if it just goes back to his all-time highs, that makes 7x. No, you're not. Because at the all-time high, the market cap was 450 million. Don't always look at price. Look at dilution. Look at C. C is another prime example of this as well. People always mistake this shit. They're like, price C went to $1. If I get in now, whoa, look at the C now. Look at that big difference between price and market cap. At the very peak, it went to 3 million. It's now less than 2x away back to his all-time high in market cap. I'm not saying C can't go crazy, but the massive difference in dilution plays a big role. This is why, like, when people say you have to be careful not to don't overestimate your predictions, because you're going to become a bag holder. You have to be realistic with a lot of your price predictions, my friends. Bossman, how you doing, Broski? Could Hello World narrative make comeback? Beige Zora make a comeback in Q4? Look, I got into Zora early. I traded it. I've never really been bullish on it, bro. Like, this is not something that's like screams I need to buy this shit. It's just a platform that no one fucking uses, bro. I've tried the platform. I couldn't even. Bro, you can be an artist there. No one's using your shit. Like, no one's bidding you up. You're never ever gonna make money on this platform. It's like a handful of like 4 or 5 people making money. Everyone else is just wasting their time. So platforms like that are never going to do well. The reason it done well was just specifically because Coinbase decided to manipulate it. Didn't make sense. Look at the TVL, 30 million, 200 million. It doesn't make sense. No one's using this shit. Just it was still a pump. Don't get me wrong. But performance have been terrible recently. But I still think it will have its time again. It will have another decent run. Time is it now? Yeah, I need to get off, bro, because I need to go. I'll go off football in a bit. Tau price prediction. I'm bullish on Tau. I think Tau will go above 1,000 per token. So what's the price of Tau now? Like 200? I think a 5x. I think it will go above 1,000. Yeah, 300 now. Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't go above 1,000. Yeah, this will go above 1,000. What's the best entry for your RWA picks right now? Props. Yeah, so props, I'm looking to get it. I'm DCAing some now, but I'm also buying some like 2 cents and below. Yeah, so probably in the next when BTC bottoms out, which you will, it's coming down the 1K region. It looks like it's holding one of the SMAs. But yeah, I'm getting this between 1.8, which is the previous low, and around 2 cents, which is, I think that's a good range. What do you say? Answer my question, G. What did you ask, Broski? I didn't even see. Hold on. Seen the new Solana perks called QTO. Let's have a look. New Solana, that could do well, Oh, Quanto, I've seen this, yes. Yo, this shit went flying, bro. What the fuck? Is it backed by Solana, a trading platform for all traders? Get into trade it. Just trade it, bro. If it's backed by Solana and Solana backs it, it could have a decent run in the short term. Fucking hell, you should have caught this. You should have found this a few days ago, bro. I'm definitely not buying into this now, but yeah, this could do well. It's on Radium. It's probably gonna get a few overlistings soon. When it gets like a Mexi, it's gonna have a decent sell-off. You can probably get into it for a trade then. Every time, even Asta when it got actually it's already kind of sold off a decent amount. Damn. Yeah, but you could trade the shit out of this. But it's gonna be risky though. I don't know. It's gonna be look how fucking fast it moves, bro. Damn. It looks like right now we're having the perp narrative, bro. Look, LogX has just moved from that shit and it's gone to something else now. But this had a massive run. Like from the lows, done like almost a 10x. But they just moved from the perp narrative into stable coins. Now they're going to somewhere else. Seems to be the perp narrative right now. Just be careful trading this one, bro. It's going to be hard. Update on power speech. This is a bunch of nothing, bro. Yeah, be careful trading it, bro. It has these crazy sharp moves, bro. Look at that. From there to down here, it's like a 3x drop. And then back up. Maybe down again. It's impossible to predict these. Anyways, guys, it's good being back on the lives. Drop a like on your way out. If I will be live again, probably, what day is it today? I think the next time I'll be live will probably be on Friday, I think. I'll be live back on Friday. I will be live twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. We can get back on the YouTube grind again, bro. I'll update you guys. I'll give you guys some new tokens as well soon. One that I did really well on, and I went quite heavy on, was Redstone. This is like an Oracle. Very, very good project, over 1 billion TVL. I got in around 30-something cents, and at the peak it went to 90 cents because it got an update listing. Made a lot of money on this one. I went quite heavy on it. Currently it's just FOMO. I can see it cooling off, then running back up. Yeah, that's valid. That's valid. There's a lot of FOMO at the moment. Let it cool off. Hold the price. I think it will probably pump again. I mean, if you look at some of the other ones, bro, like Aventus, Asta, if Solana team backs it, and Solana actually foundation, whatever backs it, you're gonna see a decent pump because that's like the perp for every single chain. You got Aventus for base, you got Asta for BNB. I have seen one on Ethereum. I think it's called AEVO. I'm not too sure. I think it's this, isn't it? Hold on, because I was looking into some. Let me have a look if this is the correct one. This is the one on Ethereum, and he's already had his pump and dump. Yeah, trade options, perps, and strategy in one place. Yeah, so this is the one on Ethereum. This one right here is called AEVO. Decent TVL. Nothing crazy, but look at the chart. It's still early in this shit, so if you get in, it's not bad. This is the one on Ethereum. I don't know if Ethereum backs it or not, but this is another one to keep an eye out for the perp shit. AEVO. When you see opportunities like this, you can always trade it. Always trade it. Anyways, guys, hit the likes on your way out. I do have to go football now, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day, week. I'll see you guys probably in the next couple of maybe like on Friday, I think. Bye-bye.